Hello everyone, I am Kaushal Prashad Srivastav from Jagran Public School Varanasi. This is my second video on life processes. In this video, we will discuss respiration in animals, human respiratory system, mechanism of breathing, circulatory system in human beings, and blood pressure. Let us start from respiration in animals. In simple unicellular animals like amoeba, respiration takes place by the simple diffusion of gases through the cell membrane. Most of the animals have specific organs for respiration. The animal like earthworm use their skin to absorb oxygen from air and remove carbon dioxide. In general, in all unicellular form like amoeba and paramecium, respiration takes place by the simple diffusion of gases through the cell membrane. What is diffusion? Diffusion is a process based on concentration gradient in which molecule move from higher concentration to lower concentration. In earthworm also, diffusion takes place through their skin and exchange of gases takes place. The aquatic animals like fish, prawn have gills as the respiratory organs. In the insect like grasshopper, cockroach, housefly and a mosquito, the tiny holes called spiracle on their body and the air tubes called tracheae are the respiratory organs. The respiratory organs of the land animals such as humans, birds, lizard, dog and frog are the lungs. In aquatic animals, gills play a very important role for exchange of gases. On the other hand, insects have tiny holes on their body called spiracle through which they can exchange gases from air. Human respiratory system. It consists of nose, pharynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchiole and alveoli. Bronchiole then divide into many alveoli which are site of gaseous exchange. Oxygen present in alveolar blood vessels is then transported to various cells of the body. It is the pathway of human respiratory system. It starts from nose, pharynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchiole and alveoli. Alveoli is the actual site of gaseous exchange in human respiratory system. This is the diagrammatic figure of human respiratory system in which lungs lie in the thoracic cavity which is separated from abdominal cavity by a muscular partition called diaphragm. Lungs are enclosed in a rib cage and respiratory system begins from nose. Our nose has two holes which are called nostrils. There is a passage in the nose behind the nostril which is called nasal passage. Nasal passage lined with fine hair and mucus. When air passes through nasal passage, the dust particle and other impurities are trapped by the hairs and mucus. From nasal passage, air enters into pharynx, then goes into the trachea. Trachea is a tube-like structure commonly known as windpipe. It is supported by ring of cartilaginous covering. It is divided into bronchus. Each bronchus divide in the lungs to form a large number of smaller tube called bronchiole. Bronchiole have tiny air sac at their end called alveoli and it is the actual site of gaseous exchange in human respiratory system. Okay, this is a human respiratory system. Mechanism of breathing. Basically, there are two processes: breathing in, breathing out. In breathing in, the process of intake of atmospheric air is known as breathing in. It is an active process. Breathing out, the process of exhaling carbon dioxide is known as breathing out. It is a passive process. See, this is the diagram showing breathing in. When we breathe in, then two things happen at the same time. First, the muscle between ribs contract, causing the rib cage to move upward and outward. Second, the diaphragm contract and move downward. Diagram showing here, rib cage move upward and outward. Diaphragm move downward. The upward and outward movement of rib cage as well as downward movement of diaphragm both increase the space inside the chest cavity and make it larger. As the chest cavity become larger, air enter in from outside the lungs. So this is the process of inspiration and breathing in. Breathing out. See, this is the diagram showing breathing out. When we breathe out, even then, two things happen at the same time. The muscle between the ribs relax, causing the rib cage move downward and inward. The diaphragm relaxes and move upward. Here figures show that rib cage move downward and inward and diaphragm move upward. The downward and inward movement of rib cage as well as upward movement of diaphragm both decrease the space in our chest cavity and make it smaller. As the chest cavity becomes smaller, air pushes out from the lung. So this is how breathing out takes place. Let us come to transportation in human beings. The blood is responsible to transport food, oxygen and waste materials in human body. Blood is a special connective tissue consisting of a fluid matrix, plasma and formed elements. Formed elements include RBCs, that is red blood cells, WBC, white blood cells and platelets. The function of RBC to carry oxygen from lungs to all the cells of body. It is red in color due to the presence of a red pigment called hemoglobin. WBC protects us from disease. This is because WBC help to fight against germs and other foreign bodies which cause disease. Other WBC cells make chemicals known as antibody to fight against infections. Platelets are tiny fragment. It helps in coagulation of blood. Plasma is also responsible to transport food, carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. Many other substances such as salt are also transported by blood. Let us come to human heart. The heart is triangular in shape. It is made up of cardiac muscle. The heart is made up of 4 chambers also. 2 upper chambers known as left and right atrium and 2 lower chamber called left and right ventricles. If we talk about circulation in 4 different chambers, the right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the largest vein, that is superior and inferior vena cava, and pump it through the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps the blood through the pulmonary valve to the lungs where it becomes oxygenated. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and pump it through the mitral valve to the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps oxygen-rich blood through aortic valve to the aorta and rest of the body. This is the structure of human heart, in which circulation starts from major veins, that is superior and inferior vena cava. Superior and inferior vena cava send all impure blood to the right atrium. Right atrium pumps all the blood to the right ventricle through tricuspid valve. Right ventricle pump all the blood to pulmonary artery. From here it comes to lung where it becomes oxygenated and come into the left atrium through pulmonary veins. Here left atrium pump all the oxygenated blood to the left ventricle and left ventricle pump all the blood to aorta. From here it goes to different part of body. So this is how the circulation takes place in human heart. In amphibian or many reptile have three-chambered heart. Due to incomplete division within their heart, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood mix to some extent. Fishes, on the other hand, have only two-chamber heart. However, the blood is pumped to the gills and get oxygenated there and then passes directly to the rest of the body. So in case of amphibian and reptile, they have only three-chamber heart and they have incomplete division within their heart. On the other hand, fishes have only two-chamber heart, that is auricle and ventricle. Blood pressure. The force that blood exerts against the wall of a vessel is known as blood pressure. The blood pressure is much greater in artery than in veins. During the ventricular systole, that is contraction, the pressure of blood inside the artery is known as systolic pressure. On the other hand, the pressure in artery during ventricular diastole, that is relaxation, is known as diastolic pressure. The normal measurement of systolic pressure is about 120 mmHg and diastolic pressure is 80 mmHg. Increase of this pressure is known as high blood pressure or hypertension. Thank you for watching this video.